are you? Welcome to our 501c drop for today. My name is Leya Simmons. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Better Unite. We created the 501c drop as a place where we can speak directly to you, and it's really for folks that are interested in real tools, real talk about fundraising and development and events and everything nonprofit. And it's frankly for the folks who are in the trenches where I used to live as a development director and an executive director. I sat where you sit, and I wanted to create a space where we could talk about all of the things and with all of the people that I wished that I could consult when I, again, sat where you sit. And Matt Newsom, who's joining us today. Hi, Matt.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, he is exactly that kind of person. I'm going to read an amazing bio from Matt about Matt here in just a moment, but I'm so thrilled to have him joining us live today. He's a benefit auctioneer out of Charlotte. Is that right, Charlotte?
Yes, Charlotte, North Carolina. They're traveling the country.
Exactly. Frankly, from all over.
That's right.
But first, let me actually cover a couple of housekeeping things. If you have any questions or you'd like to pose a question for Matt, I can't promise that we're going to get to it today, but we're going to absolutely try. So post any of those into the chat. That will flag it as a question for us. And if we don't get to any of those questions, we will follow up with you absolutely afterwards. And if you're watching the recording of today's session, please email us with any of your questions. We'll make sure that Matt gets to those. You can email those to support@betterunite.com. I'll have a little bit more information about Better Unite if you're wondering where am I coming from and what am I talking about here at the end. But I really want to dive into this conversation with Matt today. So let me read an amazing bio. Matt Newsom has helped high-profile charities from the United States raise millions, and I mean that literally. Over 350 fundraising events. Matt, I bet we're trending above that number at this point.
It's out of date. I got to revise my site.
Yeah, I know. And over $50 million raised. Again, bet that number is much higher now. 30 plus years of event management and public speaking experience. That's what I'm super fascinated about. He's, as we said, based in Charlotte, North Carolina, and serves nonprofits nationwide through custom benefit auctions, where he specializes in live auction, fund a need, silent auction, interactive fundraising games, and run of show consulting. That's what we're here to talk about. Run of show that raises more dough. Maybe my favorite title for any of our webinars so far, by the way, Matt. Matt was also president of his class at Mendenhall School of Auctioneering, one of the most respected programs in the country. But what makes Matt really different and truly unique, aside from really anybody else that you'll hear on this topic, is that he's not just a professional in this space, he's a recipient of it. Matt is a hairy cell leukemia survivor, and the first galas he ever supported benefited the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the organization whose research developed the treatment that put him into remission. That just gives me chill bumps all over. He watched benefit auctioneer Ben Farrell command a room and move people to give in ways he'd never seen before, and it changed the trajectory of his career. In 2022, Matt ran a personal fundraising campaign for LLS, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and he raised over $530,000 in just 10 weeks, which earned him the title of LLS National All-Star Man of the Year. He was also Charlotte's Man of the Year in 2016, raising over $150,000, and he served as chairman of the LLS Charlotte Board of Trustees. He brings event management chops from the director of logistics role at Charlotte Motor Speedway and general manager experience in professional baseball and hockey. He's a lifelong entrepreneur, and he genuinely loves what he does, which if you've ever worked a gala and if you've ever worked a gala that felt flat, you'll understand how this is something that you simply cannot fake from the stage. I typically don't fully read bios, Matt, but when I read yours, I was like, I need to share every word of this one. It's such an impressive pedigree.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's everything I do every day is very meaningful to me on a variety of levels. And so it took me till I was 50 years old to figure out what I'm supposed to do in this life. And now I'm doing it. I love every minute.
and never too late to
That's
stumble
right.
onto
Right.
exactly what the purpose is supposed to be. It's incredible all the way around. Well, welcome to the
Thank you.
501c Drop. We're so happy that you're here. And honestly, I'd really love to just dive right in. Do you mind if we go right
Well,
away
let's
into the
go. I
question?
mean, I talk
Let's
this
go.
all day long, so let's go.
You know what? I love that. You said that in our very first consultation call about this, where you were just like, I'll talk about this all day long. And that makes my heart sing. All right. What does, from your perspective, Matt, what does a high performing run of show look like on paper? And how is it different from what we see most nonprofits doing?
But it's interesting because the run of show that I'm recommending that we'll talk about today is the only good thing that came out of the pandemic, however many years ago. That year I did 91 events or whatever, and we realized, I think before that pandemic, runs of show had gotten longer and longer and longer and longer. And we realized we can't keep people's attention online for 2, 3 hours. We really need to synthesize this. We need to boil it down to probably an hour. And so we were able to do that by focusing on, we'll talk about the essential elements. And what I found is carrying that forward from the virtual environment back in person, people love it. People love it. They know why they're at events. They want to support the organization, but they also want to have some fun. They want to talk to their friends. They want to mix. They want to mingle. And so really the run of show for me on paper is boiled down to an hour, 60 minutes. And I've seen it done. I do it every week. And there's some groups that still insist on going longer and longer, and it just doesn't work as well. So now the one caveat I'll say is if there's dinner, then I'll give you another 30 minutes for dinner. But from the time we sit down for the program and dinner to the time we're done, it shouldn't be more than about 90 minutes.
Yeah. I love that. You know what? I do remember as well, Matt, going to those first events post pandemic. And it was just like, it's almost like people fell on each other. They were so happy to be getting together and to be, seeing each other. And like now today we would call it networking, but honestly at the time it was like the community aspect of
That's
the event
exactly right.
was so highlighted for me. Before, you're right. These events were functional. They served a purpose, and we had all kinds of other ways to get together. But like after that, we began to really like lean on them as a time to be together. And I just think that respecting that makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely, it's been amazing.
Yeah. So when in the timeline, and I guess I should say in your event timeline, should the fund a need or paddle raise happen? And like, what is it about that placement? Maybe highlighting the piece that the placement that is wrong, the placement we don't want to see it, and where should it go?
Right. I think there tends to be the default thought for most people is, well, we need to do it at the end. We need to do it at the very end of the night. And I'm a big believer, my colleague Ben Farrell and I, we talk about this a lot. We like to move fundraising earlier into the night, So I believe the funded need itself, which is one of probably the most important, but one of many different fundraising components, should be the last part of the fundraising, but it should still be as early as we can get it. And there are some auctioneers that want to do the live auction after the paddle raise, and there are reasons that they do that. I'm a big believer. My wife and I look at us as examples. We go to an event that I'm not working, which isn't very often, but we go to an event and we have a budget. We're going to spend X amount of money with this organization tonight. And so, yeah, we're going to participate in the silent auction. If we can win a couple of dinners out, hey, good for us. We might bid in the live auction, we might not. And then at the end of the night, we're giving the rest of our budgeted money to the organization through the paddle raise. And so if the live auction is after, and I've got my eye on that beach trip, well, I may not give in the paddle race because I'm going to wait and see if I win. And if I win in the live auction, great, you got my money. But if I didn't win, am I going to seek my way to go back and give that money? Not going to get credit for raising my paddle with my peers. Not going to see my name up on the scoreboard. So maybe I will, maybe I won't. And same with silent auction. A lot of groups will push the silent auction to the very end of the night. And there again, if I'm the high bidder on 5 or 6 items, paddle race is coming, but I got to hold back in case I win all of these. Silent auction items can't go over my budget. So I like to have the funded need sweep the rest of the money out of the room. So I like to have it be the last fundraising component. But that being said, I like to do it earlier in the night.
Interesting. So I have a question for you about that
Sure.
one then. We do see a lot of organizations, and I've read the statistic that the silent auction being open past the fundraiser, so, actually closing it the next day, can really up the fundraising for that silent auction. But I wonder now, in your experience, are you seeing that kind of cannibalize what happens in the other fundraising pieces in the event?
Not many. If I can think of maybe one or two that have they continue their silent auction into the next day or week. What I'm not a fan of is closing it later at night, because once the program's over, people are dancing and they're mingling. They're not going to hear their phone go off. They're not going to get the message that they got outbid. It's out of sight, out of mind. And so I don't think you get that incremental. And it complicates checkout. The later you push silent auction, and with great software like Better Unite, we want checkout to be efficient, because that's the last impression of the night. And if the people have to wait in line, then what are they going to remember when they leave? Well, it was a pretty good night, but we just stood in line for so long. So I'm trying to keep, again, the patrons' best interests in mind. Now, if someone wants to push it into the next day or the next week, I guess that could do all right. At least people have a time to regroup. Live auction came and went. Paddle raise came and went. But there again, I still may be holding out some money if I'm the high bidder on some silent auction items, because I don't really want to go over my budget that my wife and I had set for the night.
That is such an interesting start. I honestly had not thought about that piece relative to the silent auction. Let's move over to the live auction then, though.
Okay.
How would you sequence live auction items to build the momentum that I know you auctioneers are always, and frankly, that you are so good at providing to an event? What's a great closer so that you're going to get those really big gifts?
Yeah. Well, interesting, because I love to look at this, and I'll say that in my mind, the ideal number of live auction items is about 7. So let's use that. If you're using 8 or 9, you can still kind of extrapolate what I'm going to say. But the first thing I do is I look at what's our very best, highest price item. And lots of times people think they put that at the end, thinking you build momentum. And I'm all about momentum. You said that word, and that's my favorite word, besides sold. So momentum is important. But what I like to do is I like to put it dead smack in the middle. So in our 7-item example, I would put our very highest price item at number 4. Reason being, we've got some time to build some momentum up to it. But think about it. People are going to be bidding against each other. If it's the last item, you've only got one winner. You've got a bunch of people that were maybe holding on, sandbagging to have money for that item. You got nothing for them to win. Now we got to wait for them to give, but we got nothing for them to win. So I like for them, the losers of a number 4 can still bid on 5, 6, and 7. So I put the best item number 4. Then I like to take probably the lowest priced, but probably most popular item, and put it first. A bottle of bourbon. Bottle of bourbon does so well in this spot. I start the bidding really low. I tell them I'm going to start the bidding so low, I expect to see every paddle in the air. And you start a great bottle of bourbon at $50, every paddle goes up, and people are like, wow, I'm bidding in the live auction. I just got an adrenaline rush. This is cool. And so you can get some people excited there. So we've got 1 and we've got 4 kind of pegged. Then I pick probably the second most popular item and the second lowest value item, and I put it last, because there again, I want to have momentum rolling into, for me, typically is the mission moment, which we'll talk about, which leads to the fun to need, the paddle race. And I want something that's going to get a lot of action. Doesn't have to be big dollars, but I want action. And everybody engaged. So now we've got 1, 4, and 7 picked. Usually there's one item when I see the list, I'm like, ooh, the 2 years worth of teeth whitening. Ooh, that's going to be a tough sell.
Always just kind of falls flat. Yeah,
exactly.
Every auction has that.
It does. And so I might put it 5th, and try and ride that wave off of that big item. Try and ride that wave and get something for that item. So that's number 5. And then kind of 2, 3, and 6 are all about the same. I might have our second best item, our second highest price might be number 2 or number 3. Again, building momentum, and the other 2 and 6 are about the same. So that's kind of how I picture the entire package. There again, if you've got 9, then you can put your best item 5th and kind of fill in the same sort of way.
Do you ever just get totally surprised and the item you put at number 4 does well, but then for some reason number 6 was just blew everything out of the water?
Oh yeah, every once in a while, it's all about who's in the room and what they want. Yeah. But usually we're able to predict it pretty well. But every once in a while we get a nice surprise. Every once in a while we get a not so nice surprise. But particularly if we're doing consignment trips, sometimes that doesn't go as well as we'd hope. But there are ways to just, you got to keep moving. It's all about momentum. If we just lost a little bit, how can we get it back? So I always like to have, our stagger, our good ones, so we always know we can rally with one that's upcoming.
Okay, well, so sticking on our momentum theme, what is a common run of show mistake that you see that just tanks the momentum or the donor energy before they ask?
It's real easy, and I see it a lot. It's too many speakers. Too
Oh,
many speakers saying too many things. There's a word I've heard creeping into the gala vernacular lately, and it's a couple of groups of mine used it in the initial conversations. They said, "Oh yeah," and then we're going to have our keynote. I'm like, "Ooh, keynote to me means two things. It means 30 minutes, and it means boring."
it means
I'm
long.
like, oh no, 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 no keynotes, no keynotes. No, we want a mission speaker. We want a mission moment. But some groups, they do incredible. These groups, we see them. They do incredible things. All everybody who's watching this, y'all do incredible things. But we can't tell everybody every story. We just can't. We can't tell. It's just going to take too long. And so some groups just want to go on and on and on. I think back to Jerry Maguire. Remember when Renee Zellweger and Tom Cruise are talking, and he's on, and she says, "Shut up! You had me at hello." And we're selling past the close. We had people reaching for their wallets, and then we tell them again why they should give. Well, they were all ready to give. And so I had one group that had a mission moment after every paddle raise level a couple weeks ago. Much to my chagrin, it's like, no, it's yes, they're incredible stories, but every one of them could stand alone and be the mission moment. So too many people speaking, and too many organizations want to tell all the great things they do, and they do incredible things. I want to hear someone say, "Let me tell you what this organization did for me." And I think there's a big difference there. And we'll talk about that in the mission moment. But, Leukemia Lymphoma Society, now Blood Cancer United as a good example. They can tell you, the doctors can tell you the great work that the money raised does for them. And the organization can tell the people to support. Or I can tell you, hey, this group generated the research that made the drugs that saved my life. So, that's pretty compelling. I think there's a difference there.
Oh, that's great advice. So you had me at hello. That's going to be my new mantra for for our organizations. So then you mentioned, so what, you throw in an extra 30 minutes in your hour for a dinner. How
Right.
do you transition from the dinner, and if there is any sort of program, God forbid a keynote, but if there's that, how do you transition from that into your live auction fund a need,
Absolutely.
the
So,
fundraising mode?
and I'll take a quick step back. For me, there's six essential elements in a run of show. Someone needs to say hello, thank you, welcome, thanks for coming. Let's thank sponsors A, B, C, and D. You got to do that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Then the second element for me is what I call branding, not the heartstrings, not the mission moment yet, but just facts and figures. Like one of the lines I saw on Twitter the other day was facts tell and stories sell. We're not selling yet, we're telling. So let me tell you how many dogs and cats we spayed and neutered last year. Let me tell you how many new drugs we developed for blood cancer treatment. Every organization's got their facts and figures, and a lot of them are pretty eye-opening. So again, we're starting to kind of set the stage. Lots of times, I recommend we break for dinner then. So we kind of set the stage. We got people's attention. We break for dinner. And then what I love to do in that 30 minutes of dinner is I love to push raffle. I love to have raffles are big money makers. Let's have our raffle sellers going table to table. Let's push our silent auction. Let's close the silent auction at the end of dinner that then leads right into the live auction. So anyway, I had welcome, I had branding, then live auction is my third item. I like it because it builds energy that we then channel into the fourth, which is our mission moment. The person who says, let me tell you how this organization changed my life. That was enabled by generous people who came before me. There are more people before you. There are more people like me who need their lives changed, and that's why we're here. Sixth is I think I'm getting them right. Fifth is the paddle raise itself, and sixth is thank you. So those are the essential elements. So I like to put dinner right between the branding and the live auction. So back to the question, how can we get people to start to move into fundraising mode? We can get them buying raffle opportunities. We can get them bidding in the silent auction, starting to get them shifting in towards supporting.
Towards emotion. I love that because it takes it from, there's all the different love languages that people have. Some people are rational, some people are more emotional, but as a former fundraiser, we always say that donations are very rarely driven by the, logical brain. They're much more likely to be driven by your emotional one. So you've tacked on your logic, and then after the dinner, you've moved them over into the emotional brains. That works perfectly in my fundraising brain anyway.
It's
Um,
exactly right. And I'll say too that one of the lines I saw, it might have been Maya Angelou, said, people won't remember what you told them, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And I think
yes,
that's exactly what you said.
totally. Um, okay, so how now do you, so you, this is, I love your strategy. And by the way, we're going to be, Matt is very generously giving everybody attending and everybody watching a free copy of his book. And so we're going to give you instructions around that, but it's going to detail a lot of what Matt's saying here today. I'm going to let Matt sell this much better than I am later. But I want to know, with this kind of framework that you have created, laid out, written about, how do you coach an executive director or development director or an event planner, and even board members on what not to say from the stage at a fundraising event? I have experienced this myself, where you're just like sitting back with your head in your hands. You've got a board member or a long-winded, God forbid, keynote up there, and like no way to pull them down. So what do you say
Oh
beforehand
boy.
to try and avoid these situations?
Absolutely. Well, I talk to, I'm very consultative in my approach. And so for me, it's 6, 9 months, a year that we're talking about this. And I tell them early on, hey, I'm going to be a voice, and I'm going to challenge a lot of different things. When someone says, well, and then this person's going to speak, then this person, then this person, I'm going to say, oh, hold on. Why? Who are they? Who are they? What are they going to say? Why? For how long? Does it really help us? Or is it just that, you know what, every year the gala chair is always spoken, and so we just figured she needs to speak again? And I don't, for me, that's not a great answer.
No.
So my first thing is let's make sure we understand who's going to speak and why and for how long and what they're going to say. And obviously the ED needs to be seen. That's part of the role. So lots of times the ED might do the branding or might do the welcome. The director of development might, do the welcome. There are roles for different people if people need to be seen and heard. But otherwise, we don't need to just have more speakers for the sake of speaking. That's going to be a common theme that you're going to hear from me this afternoon. So that's number one. Number two is when we have speakers, they've got to be coached. Everybody's got to be coached and pretty darn well scripted. There are a couple of phrases that make the hair on my neck stand up, off the cuff,
Yeah.
off script, and wing it. Anytime a speaker says one of those, I'm getting the shepherd's crook, and I'm about to.
I picture that exactly.
There's only one time that goes well, never. And so, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. So everybody has to, in my mind, everybody needs to submit their remarks, submit a very tight outline. And here's what I've seen happen. A lot of people, they're asked to speak, and they put on they're getting ready to give their best Vince Lombardi, pick your favorite coach halftime speech. They're going to get everybody fired up. They're going to tell the whole history. And all of a sudden, you've got 3 or 4 people all said the same thing. And it's redundant and it's unnecessary. So I like to challenge who's speaking, why, and for how long, what are they going to say? And then we need to tell them, hey, Leah, this is your role. And you don't have good news. You don't have to shoulder the whole load. You don't have to sell the whole program. We need you to cover this very specific part because we've got all of the different components are going to come together to sell the program. So those are my strategies there. Stay in your lane. Stay what we've asked you to do. Don't go straight off topic. It just doesn't help.
And it harms the fundraising effort.
Oh, it really does.
Frame it like that to our board members and your presenters, then hopefully they remember that piece. Like, we did this on purpose. So I love that
Exactly
strategy
right.
piece. What do
Exactly.
so, okay, we've talked about the number of live auction items. We've talked about the number of presenters or speakers and number of mission moments as well. What's the time frame that you like to see for those? Like, how long minutes wise should the live auction be? Should a fund a need be? Because we all know our attention spans, and since even COVID, getting shorter and shorter. So what are you thinking of as magic time frame?
Well, typically live auction is about 3 minutes per item. So that's pretty easy math. Pardon me?
That seems pretty fast.
Yeah.
What I've
Well, I control 3 important elements. I control where I start the bidding, I control the increment, and I control when I sell it. Now, I'm not going to sell it before it's ready to be sold, but if we've got 7 or 8 items and we've got a pretty heavy program, I'm not going to start grinding down to $25 increments.
Yeah.
I may keep it at 100s or 250s or 500s or whatever. I kind of read the room as I go. So there's that. And then typically the fund to need, depending on if people are giving on their phones and we're watching a scoreboard, that goes much quicker. And if people are raising paddles, then that can go a little slower. And there are pros and cons to both.
Sure.
But typically that's 12 to 15 minutes. We'll do a last hero game as well, usually, or a paddle drop or whatever we want to call it. So we've got of my 60 minutes. Remember, I'm giving the 60 minutes. We've got half of it, a little more than half, tied up right there in fundraising. And the thing that drives me crazy is when a event planner says, "Well, we're gonna have to cut out 2 of the items because we're running long." Like, oh, wait a second, you got higher priorities than raising money. I'd like to hear that. So there's that. And then I think the other thing to consider is taking the entire program and where do we put it in the night. And again, earlier for me is better. Yes, it's nice for people to get a cocktail or 2 or maybe even 3, but pushing your fundraising off to 10:30 at night, that's not going to go well because people go over that cliff, they're not coming back. And so it's important to do the fundraising pretty early.
Yeah. All right. I love all of that guidance. And I honestly, too, just your frame around the, is this or is this not harming the fundraising aspect of really why we're here?
Right.
So you've teased a little bit the mission moment. I want to kind of give you a blank slate to talk to us about mission moment. Where should it live? How long should it be? What's your ideal? Like, tell us all, Matt.
Absolutely. So again, I like to do the live auction leading up to the mission moment. It gets everybody in. The way that I auctioneers, everybody's engaged, where everybody's participating, encouraging each other. So we got everybody's attention. We just had a lot of fun. We've raised some money. It's exciting. And then I want to channel all that right into our mission speaker. And as I said before, I'd rather that person be someone who can say, "Let me tell you what this organization's done for me," not what someone says, "Let me tell you what our organization does for other people." That being said, lots of times a mission speaker may not be all that polished, and that's okay. Sometimes raw is real. It doesn't have to be the most eloquent documentary video. Sometimes just shot on an iPhone and stitched together. It's a real thing. But long way to say it can be video. I'm fine with video. Video, there's some pros to video. We control everything, right? We control the link, we control the volume, we control the message. Nothing left to chance there. If it's a video, I love to surprise her and say, "And you know what, friends, I have exciting news. Leya is here right now. She's right over here at table 6. Let's give her a big round of applause." I got goosebumps, right? That's really cool. And you get the impression she's tangible. She's right here with us. So real. You get that impact of the in-person. Now, if someone is going to be pretty good live, then we can do that. But again, got to be very tightly scripted. And I'm okay if they read. It becomes authentic. So all of that said, it really doesn't need to be more than about 3 or 4 minutes. I don't think if they can't say that if they can't have people reaching for their wallets in 3 or 4 minutes, then we didn't coach them well enough. We didn't help them refine it well enough because it should be a relatively simple story. We're just bringing it to life. So I like to do that do that after the live auction, mission moment. And then I like to come right up. I don't want anybody else piling on. We're selling past the close. Then we don't even need that person to speak. Again, if they're there, they can wave. And I say, "Friends, what an incredible impact this organization's making. Let's go." And, we launch right into the paddle race.
That's really wonderful. I do think sometimes that mission moment gets lost in all of the other wraparound stuff that we see sometimes. And I can't tell you, I don't know, I'm a crier. You show me a video, most of the time I'm going to cry at that video. It's a very good time to ask me to donate to that cause.
Absolutely. And again, there's sometimes it just goes too long. It goes too long. And I'm a big believer we can't do that in 3 or 4 minutes. Then we should go back and do it again.
Edit it, figure that out, right? So how do you adjust the run of show and this is a question for you that I know we can't exactly anticipate, but how do you adjust the run of show if you're kind of not getting the love vibe from the people that are in the room? They're not responding the way that you would hope they had.
Yeah. Well, it's
Actually, I'm going to add to that. Do you plan for that? Like, are you always kind of in your back pocket have an idea of like, okay, what if this happens?
Not specifically, but I'd say this is one of the big benefits of, and I use the word benefit, but hiring a professional benefit auctioneer. This is what I do. I did 76 events last year in 20 states. I see it all. I've had Mrs. Jones pass out in the middle and fall flat, and I've seen it all. And so I'm adapt quicker on the fly than I think someone who doesn't have that type of experience. So can't really say any go-tos that I have, but I'm pretty good at thinking quickly on my feet. And sometimes we got to start over. If the sound glitched out or the video was, sometimes the video doesn't work, and we just do the best we can. It's the nice thing is we have a sympathetic crowd. The people know why they're there.
Yeah, they want to see you succeed.
They want to see us succeed, and they really, it's live TV. It's live TV, and anything can happen.
That's so true. That's so true. Well, then how does your plan change depending on the number of people that are in the room? Like when you've got an under 100 person event versus an over 500 person event, do you change any of this strategy based on that?
No, I don't think I'd change the strategy at all. Some of the timings may wind down a little bit. We might only do 5 live auction items instead of 7, and dinner won't take as long. But I think the strategies and the kind of the blueprint that I like to work from, it's not always in the same blueprint, but the blueprint I like to start with, it's the same. I don't make any real changes.
Okay, I love that. What do you what do you do? We've talked about that 60 minutes that we have for the program and maybe even
Right.
dinner. What do you think should lead up to that? What about that 30 minutes or even an hour prior to? What
Yeah, I think there's pretty standard, and it's good to have an hour of cocktails and gathering time where people can register, make sure they're logged in on Better Unite so they can fully participate.
You have to log in for Better Unite, just click through the link, but yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Make sure they're clicked in and ready to participate.
Right.
And they're gathering. We don't want everybody to come at the same time. So there's value there. And I'll say too that a lot of groups are having great success with doing a VIP, 30 minutes even before that, where you have a second cut of bourbon, not Pappy, but you got Buffalo Trace instead of Maker's Mark. And you can upcharge people a couple $100 there, and there are always people willing to pay the most to be the most exclusive.
I gotta
So
tell you too, from event software perspective, that actually helps with check-ins so much because you get at least a swath of people in first before you have this flood of people when you're trying. If you've got a very big event, that helps with check-ins so much to stagger when folks are going to arrive in whatever way you can. So I'm
that's exactly right. And because what's the first impression? People, they're rolling up, they found their parking place, and if they stand in line, that's not a good day. If they can breeze right in, then we're off to a great start. So I think there's definitely a place for that hour, I'll call it, and I think it's an opportunity to be very intentional with fundraising. I mean, I said earlier, I'm a big fan of raffles, but raffles, if you put someone selling tickets over in a table in the corner, that's not how it works. People don't wake up in the morning to go buy raffle tickets, but I had great success with a group that had 4 pairs. It was about a 350 person event. They had 4 pairs of high school kids that needed service hours, and they were children of board members and such. We paired them up, and they went person by person, and they sold $7,500 worth of raffle tickets during cocktail hour. And then everybody went in and sat down. We'll talk about that in a second too. And then they went table by table. They sold another $7,500. These are 4 kids selling to 350 people, or 8 kids, and they were fantastic. So I think it's an opportunity to be very intentional with things like raffle, be very intentional with silent auction. Let's make sure that we're merchandising. Let's be very interactive. You can have people answering questions. You can have live auction preview, but maybe the auctioneer saying, "Hey, let me tell you, have you seen this trip to Tuscany? It's fantastic." And I think it's an opportunity to be very intentional of getting people in that mode.
I just love that because I do think there's this idea that sometimes that people have gone to fundraising events, they know that there is a silent auction, they know just to look on their phone, and I mean we can text them all we want and show all the QR codes in the world that we want to for silent auction, even live auction items or raffles, but like that person to person interaction and the time. I would also advocate, just again as a former fundraiser, that beginning hour is a time that board members and staff can walk around and have identified the folks that they should go up and talk to. I know a lot of times as the auctioneer, you've identified or have been told these are the people that you should walk up and talk to as well. So that advance work to me just makes sense from a stewardship perspective.
Absolutely. When I was chair of the board of LS, the staff used to give me a hit list. That doesn't sound good. They give me a list of people like, these are the 6 people we need you to talk to and introduce yourself. And the person that succeeded me as board chair was someone that I went up and introduced myself, and we became friends, and that's how it works. So, and then the interesting thing too is staff. Lots of groups, unfortunately, they'll either get bad software. We'll talk about that later, or they'll get good software like Better Unite. But then they'll all staff it themselves. I'm thinking, oh, this is the only time you get all these people in the room at one time during the year. Not the best and highest use of your time, Leah, executive director, to be registering people and getting them checked in, showing them the link to click through. You need to be working these people. And so having good people operating, our mutual friend Candice Luisi at Knockout Fundraising, there are third-party partners that can come in and take care of all of that, which has benefits on many levels. One other thing I want to say, because it impacts run of show, is this is one of my favorites. It's Matt's six-prong strategy, foolproof strategy to moving people. Because yes, we're 45 minutes into our hour, and we want to start our program. We start, cocktails start at 6, 7 o'clock. We want to get rolling, because if we start at 7:20, then we're behind in our show, in our program. So here's my foolproof six-prong strategy. Number one, send messages through Better Unite, through the software. Okay. That's number one. Can't hurt. It's helpful to some degree, but it's not the only thing to do. Number two is making announcements. The auctioneer, hey folks, come on in. Number three is actually really number one is fling open the doors. If we're in an ante room, if we're outside, have the ballroom doors closed, and all of a sudden they open up. It's light. There's music, and people are like, wow, why would I stay out here? I want to go in there, which is what we want to do. So those are the three easy ones. And then the 4, 5, and 6, number 4, and this is one that can really work, is what I call pullers, where the organization tells our board, tells our committee, hey, when we open the doors and say it's time to move, people are going to look at you. You're the tribal leader. They may be your guest. And if you say, oh my goodness, it's time for us to head on in, let's go get our seats, it's going to be a great night, that's what they'll do. If they say, the heck with that, let's go get another drink at the bar, that's what they'll do too. And that doesn't help us. So that's number 4. Number 5 is what I call pushers, which tend to be, so we had pullers, these are pushers, which tend to be staff. And then 6, the most important, is close the bar. Nobody leaves an open bar. Bar's got to close. And the best way to close a bar is 5 minutes before you really want to close, put someone at the end. The bar's behind me. And we've opened the doors. We're 5 minutes till we start, and people are starting, hey, I'm sorry, we're closing the bar. We're all going inside. There's wine service inside, so head on in. The bar will open up later. It'll all be good. And because the bartender will get one more drink to death and doesn't know when to stop. But then the caveat to that is, don't have bars inside the ballrooms. You just shifted the problem to another space. But if you do all 6 of those, I've seen where we've moved big groups in less than 15 minutes.
That's impressive. That's great. And that's incredible advice, because that, honestly, I can't tell you the number of events I've been to where I see the poor event planner, or sometimes, unfortunately, development director that's just like frayed and frazzled and so frustrated and is just like helpless to the fact that they're 30 minutes behind schedule, 45 minutes behind schedule, and can't kind of seem to move things along. So if you have that plan from the outset, that could help so much, just knowing
exactly.
And identifying those people as well, your pullers, your pushers, the bar closers, all of those ones. I love it.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do you think about the relationship between the auctioneer and the event MC or executive director or development director or event planner, whomever it is, the one that owns the program? What's that relationship like?
It's funny because sometimes I end up owning the program because this is what I do, and I know the mechanics. I know how it's going to work. So there are times that happens. Here again, I think that's one of the benefits of hiring a professional auctioneer, benefit auctioneer, and particularly because having been consulting with them and building this out together, I'm working very closely with whoever my contact is. And I do like to clarify, who's making the call. Because people may ping pong up to me, hey, we should do this now, we should do that now. And I'm like, well, until Leah says so, then, you need to talk to her. Because I can get pulled in a lot of different directions. We make this announcement, and I always got to go through somebody. Somebody's got to be in charge, because sometimes there are too many people trying to be in charge. One of the things that I think is tricky is from an MC standpoint is hiring, or not even hiring, but getting the celebrity or the weatherman or the news anchor. If that person can get you some free pub, if they can get you on the air the week before or do some feature, that's great. But a lot of times an anchor shows up, and the first time they have ever seen the script, is
Yeah.
when they get there right after the broadcast, and right before we go live, and there's no chemistry. There's lots of reading from the sheet of paper, and I just don't think it's all that effective.
That's interesting. I can imagine that. Yeah.
I think some people want to have a celebrity, and that just doesn't have the appeal, at least in that role.
Hmm.
But I obviously work with typically one person very closely, and we can figure out who's going to be doing what.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting because I have seen exactly what you're describing, where it's like a disconnected person that has a big personality and a big voice, but like you do get that sense that they don't really know, they seem out of place on the stage.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Okay, so my favorite final question, and it doesn't have to be totally final because you have so much institutional knowledge. I really want to give you space to just let us know what we need to know. But if there was one thing that people took away from this about their run of show or about raising the revenue at their events, what would that one thing be?
Well, it's funny because I go through this exercise as soon as I partner with a group. One of our very first kickoff calls, I'll say, all right, there are 4 things we can do at an event like this. We can entertain, we can educate, we can honor and recognize, and we can raise money. Now, my challenge to you is pick 1.5 because that's all we can do effectively. We could do all those things, but we can only do 1.5 effectively. So what's your one? And of course, 99 out of 100 times it's fundraising. I say, fantastic. That's why I'm here. But guess what? I'm going to challenge you now when you say, and I use the absurd example, not entirely true, but could be close, where they say, all right, so we're going to sit down, we're going to have dinner, and then we're going to show the new documentary, and then the kids are going to do act 4 of the play, and then we're going to induct the 10 people into the Hall of Fame, and then Matt, we want you to come on and raise money, and it's going to be great. I'm like, well, no, it's not, because you've put fundraising last. And so as long as we agree ahead of time what your 1.5 are. Now, of course, we're going to make the entire night's going to be entertaining. So when I say entertaining, I mean very focused entertaining. We're going to make it educational, but we're going to be very crafty in the way that we weave the story into our entire night. So typically, it's fundraising and education. Fantastic. I'm going to hold you to it. And so when you say, we're going to have these 4 speakers, I'm going to say, well, that's not what we agreed on. And so I think that's the number one mistake is trying to do too much, because there's everything we could do. But if fundraising is our top priority, then we need to build everything around the fundraising. And where most people go wrong is trying to, again, have too many speakers, try and say too much, and try and do too much education.
That's incredible advice. Okay, any other parting wisdom that you need us to know?
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay,
I'm very passionate, and I think again, there are people who are better bid callers than I am, and let's talk about auctioneers. You have 4 or 5 choices as the auctioneer, because you're in that committee meeting. Well, we're having a gala. Well, we need an auctioneer. Well, you can go get the anchor, right? The person, the volunteer, we call it, right? The board member who's really funny. I bet he'd be really good. That usually doesn't work out well. Then this is the one I love. I've coined a new term. It's in the book. We'll talk about the book in a minute. But I've coined a new term. It's called a Fafenach. It's a friend of a neighbor of a cousin. Because we've been in that meeting. We've got a gala coming up. We need an auction. Someone says, oh, I got a guy. He's a friend of my friend who's a neighbor of his cousin. And he sells cattle and cars and tobacco all week. But we can get him for free. And he'll come and he'll roll in, no idea anything about the organization, but he'll talk fast and he'll sell a trip like he's selling a cow. And people will be like, huh? Because, there's a certain language there that those types of people speak. And so I laugh about that. And as I always say, that not all auctioneers are created equally. And I equate it to doctors. If you break your arm, you don't go see an optometrist, but they're both doctors. They're both doctors. And I've had people call me, they say, I've got an estate. Would you do my estate? So I'm sorry, that's not what I do. I can refer you because I'll probably have known somebody, but I'm a big fan of obviously hiring a professional benefit auctioneer. This is what we do. And it's the creative process. It's the entire start to finish that really helps you raise the money.
Let me say, as somebody that I get nothing from you benefit auctioneers except support of all of my favorite organizations. I, just as a person that has watched probably as close to on par with how many events you have been a part of, like the value of a benefit auctioneer at that event is so great, so high. It is always our team. We are consistently advising if we get the sense from an organization that they are not employing a benefit auctioneer specialist for their event. That's one of the number one things that we advise. That always ends up raising far more money, and it's just the best money that you can spend. I completely endorse that response, Matt.
No, I appreciate that. And then even within professional benefit auctioneers, I think there are kind of two different categories, and I'm not disparaging at all. But there's some auctioneers that are showmen, and it's the sequin tuxedo and all. And if that's what you and your organization want, that's fantastic. There are a lot of great auctioneers. And then there's some. The compliment that I'm paid regularly is they say, Matt, you were energetic, but you were sincere. And so I'm gonna try and toe that line a little more. But can't go wrong. Once you get into a professional benefit auctioneer who does this for a living, you're going to be in good hands.
That leverages all of that experience, wisdom, and time on stage as well. I love all of that. Okay, Matt, tell us all about your book.
Well, I continue to raise money with Blood Cancer United. I ran the New York Marathon a year and a half ago, and I was training for the marathon, and I hate running, but I was out running one morning, and I said, you know what? I have the same conversations. A lot of things we talked about in the last 45 minutes. I have these conversations every day, over and over, and they're fantastic conversations. I said, you know what? I'm going to write them all down. So I'm training for this marathon, and I'm out on my 12-mile run, and I said, well, today I'm going to write the chapter on live auction. I'm writing in my head, and word processing in my head, and I come back from my run, and I put it all down on paper. And I did that over the course of my marathon training, such that I came up with, it's the Gala Fundraising Guidebook. I call it a blue.
Oh, I should have had my copy out.
A blueprint for success, and I've had a blast with it. It's great. It's helped a lot of people that I work with, but even people that I don't. I've reached a point in my life where I love what I do, and I'm trying to help people in this crazy world that we live in. I'm very fortunate. I get to see the best of humanity probably 3 to 4 nights a week. Generous people supporting great organizations. So one of the things I'm happy to do, and so if I can make the plug, you can go to www.mattnewsom.com. That's NEWSOM, or you can go to thegalafundraisingguidebook.com. Go to the shopping cart, and here's the thing. Your coupon code, when you go to checkout, if you use Better Unite, one word, Better Unite, it'll be free, books free, shipping's free. I'll take care of all of it. I want to put these out in people's hands, and hopefully it helps people raise more money to continue the great work that everybody's watching today, the great work that y'all do. I admire what you do. So mattnewsom.com or thegalafundraisingguidebook.com, and that coupon code is Better Unite, all one word.
I have just put that into the chat. It is in the email if you're watching the recording, where we were sent the recording, and we'll make sure that's in the blog as well. Matt, thank you so much. That is just so generous of you. And I actually, like I said, I have my copy here somewhere. I don't know why I didn't pull it out.
I don't want to see it on eBay, Leah. Don't want to see it on eBay.
No, I refer to it. It is it is really, truly a great resource. So I really do hope that all of you will do that. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
I absolutely appreciate it. Okay, let me jump over into, okay, here we go. This is Matt and his information on your screen right now. If you've got questions, you can email those directly to Matt. If you'd like to ask me something, you can also email Leya@betterunite.com, and then support@betterunite.com if you have any questions. If you'd like to scan this QR code here, you'll see that you can, we'll take you for a tour of Better Unite, your nonprofit operating system with the best event and auction tool out there. We would love to show you around. We'd love to know more about your organizations if you're not a current user of Better Unite. And then next week, speaking of sparkling tuxedos, we have another benefit auctioneer. I'm sure, Matt, you're familiar with Dean Crownover. He's going to be talking about, and you mentioned it quite a few times, raffles. So this is something that Dean spends a lot of time thinking about and talking about. You can scan the QR code here to register and just learn even more about what Matt has described for us in our run of show. He'll hyper focus on the raffle and how you can make those an integral part of your next event. So scan that April 28th at 1:30 Central. We will see you, and it's always at it's always on a Tuesday. It's always at 1:30 Central. So I would love to see you all there. Matt, thank you again so much for joining me today. This has just been invaluable advice. Again, the Run a Show that raises more dough, my favorite webinar title ever. I couldn't appreciate you more.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed spending time with you today, and I hope our viewers got something out of it. So look forward to being in touch with them and look forward to being in touch with you. Thanks for all that you do, and thanks for all that Better Unite does. Great software can make a huge difference in an event. And I'll tell you, if you don't raise the money because you had bad software, nobody's going to say, well, we didn't raise the money. But good news, I appreciate the fact you saved a little bit on the expense side. Not worth it. It's an investment. It's an investment.
That may be my next tagline. Thank you so much for giving us that. All right, everybody. Thank you
Take
for
care.
joining us. Thanks for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Let's all go do some good. Bye-bye.
Bye.